everybody. To finish off the music with Roxanne Mania that we've been kind of going through the last couple months, I figured it would be fun to design some of the upper faculty of Unseen University. There's about 4 named faculty who get the most caught up in it, but I wanted to focus this video's efforts on the Dean. He's probably my favorite of the wizards in the book. He's such a funny little guy, and his fit goes so fucking hard in the book that I couldn't in good conscience not do a full time lapse on him. But before I do, I kind of wanted to get into the wizard's whole deal. Their main hub of activity is Unseen University, which is like this huge college, like a big college for wizards, and it functions closer to like, your modern day colleges and universities. And they tend to serve as like a tertiary characters for a lot of the different arcs that aren't really that don't really have anything to do with wizards in general. Like, they have their own storylines and stuff, but they will also just pop up in random other arcs, just to be helpful or unhelpful, as the case may be a lot of the time. They're meant to satirize the upper echelons of academic society. I come from a family with a lot of teachers, tenured professors, and aspirants to the ivory tower of academia myself, so I'm pretty well acquainted with parts of that world and have always found the wizards to be an awful lot of fun to read about. They're always puttering around in the background of other arcs, kind of making contraptions or getting carried away with stuff, or generally kind of making things worse for most of the protagonists. The Dean himself is absolutely hilarious. In this book specifically, he gets really into rock music, aesthetically, going so far as to paint his bedroom black and innovate new articles of clothing that we'll be discussing later. He's a constant thorn in head honcho Arch-Chancellor Ridcully's side for the whole book because he wants to slay sartorially, so obviously I had to try my hand at designing his sick rock glow-up. He's described as having a floor-length leather duster with Born to Rune in studs on the back, and riveted trousers made of denim he calls Deans. But outside of those, we aren't really given a lot of description for his look, so of course I designed him a whole look that I then scrapped. This revised look retains those details, gives him a cropped band tee, wizard hat, round glasses, and workman boots and gloves to create a look that my friend says gives biker wizard. I also kept him fat, as in the books he is described as quite portly. I felt that it would be lazy to reduce his size, because society tends to see it as default, and in our current time any look is a serve on a skinny body. I wanted to preserve the original vision, but also wanted to design it on a body that's older, fatter, and saggier. A cool biker wizard can serve at any age, but also any weight, and I think that's important to emphasize in my work. With our design baseline down, let's start modeling. The first thing I wanted to note in my process this time was to make absolutely sure there's eye bag meat here under the eye. Eye bags emphasize age and tiredness in a person's features, and the Dean has to be nearing his mid-60s at least, so it's the first hint that I can give that he's older. With those out of the way, I can start to mold the rest of his features, moving verts and recessing or extruding faces to get the shapes right. Once I have the face looking right, I can delete the faces and round off the verts on the bottom of the head and extrude downwards in accordance with my reference image. One thing I had to keep in mind here was that the chin had to be defined enough for me to give him a big beard to hang off the face, but not in a way that would make him appear slimmer. I'm a bit luckier because I'll be modeling the beard and not particle grooming it, so it'll still be hidden, but it's important to consider because it will flow better with the rest of the body. While I usually extrude front and back simultaneously with the sides already formed, I did front and back separately this time to conform to the curves of the drawing better. Then I closed up the sides, added like 8 edges, and sculpted the shape out so it looked more organic. After correcting the edge loops, I closed up the crotch and proceeded the way I normally do. Leg holes out and down, following the reference shapes and connecting it up at the hip. Just a quick reminder here to always define the hinge joints on your arms and legs for better deformation. I always make sure to add like an inset on the inner side of the joint on the arm or leg, or an extrusion on the outer side of the joint. It always makes the deformations look better. Trust me, it's an extra step, but it will always make your animations look cooler.
I don't know.
I brought you some chamomile tea, sir. Sir?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking.
Is that a good idea, sir, in your line of work?
Albert?
Chamomile tea, sir.
I thought that was a kind of soap.
You can put it in...
I'm just doing my little cube hand technique here. I do it literally for every model. It's cleaner and easier than extruding it straight from the base mesh in my opinion, and I always join it up at the end. Just make sure to keep your verts at the base as close to the number of verts at the end of the arm, and you should be fine.
What's it all about? Seriously, when you get down to it.
Oh, couldn't really say, sir.
No. I remember everything. As if it happened only tomorrow.
With the final shape refinements done, it's time to model his clothes. I did his gloves first because they're super easy to do. You just duplicate the hands, separate them, and shape the wrist opening. The duster is a modified cube with an open front, top and bottom with a lapel. The shirt and jeans are basically the same as the gloves, just shapes duplicated and separated so they look the same as the body. This is why I paid as much attention to the details around the waistband as I did. It helps to sell the size better.
Master,
Where is my granddaughter?
she's trying to save the boy. She doesn't know the meaning of the word duty.
But we do, don't we? You and me. Look after him. I've got an appointment.
His facial hair is all subdivided mirrored cubes that are just sort of placed around his chin and upper lip. I then separated the beard tail from the beard on the chin and remeshed the chin portion, sculpting and shaping it up until it looked right.
When spring has returned and the trees are in bud, it's time for the gathering, so down to the wood. Gathering rhubarb from field and from hill, we'll be gathering rhubarb till we've had our fill. On dark lonely nights, when a cruel wind has blown, with a rhubarb companion you're never alone. Rhubarb and crumble.
I did curves for his long, slicked back hairdo and made sure to sculpt the jowly bits of the beard up to the ear so it looked like it connects to sideburns. I honestly didn't really do too much to his hair. He has the same hair as that one old cop from that shitty robot racism video game from a couple years ago.
Of a fresh juicy tart that'll rise with a chortle and leave with a fart. Gathering rhubarb from field and from hill, we'll be gathering.
I duplicated his shins and extruded his shoes outwards from the bottom edges on the front and back separately before filling in the negative spaces on the sides, similar to how I did the belly. I also sculpted them a bit for better shaping.
Those tender pink stems, so firm to the touch, can bring so much happiness when firm in your clutch. 'Tis a friend of young maidens, 'tis a friend of all thrones. With a rhubarb companion, they're never alone. Gathering rhubarb from field and from hill, we'll be gathering rhubarb till we've had our fill. Gathering rhubarb, 'tis a harvest of bliss. Oh, rhubarb, oh, rhubarb.
To rig him up, it's a basic human meta rig that I fitted to the body and situated inside all the meshes. I did some fancy stuff for a facial rig setup, but I won't be diving into detail here, because it's all laid out in this post here that's available for patrons. Please consider supporting me if you can. Every little bit helps, and you'll be kind of learning a lot. You learn what I learn, essentially, and I'm always learning new shit, so, you know, please support me. Support this tomfoolery. I'll do a quick rundown of the outfit bones, though. It's 6 bone chains, 3 on either side of the front, side, and back from the middle of the rope to the hem. His hat has a small curved bone chain in the top for extra flop if you so desire, and his beard has a short set of bones as well, so that it can swing around and have physics if you want it to. Once I've parented the meshes to this rig and done the necessary vertex group cleanup, I can start weight painting to better refine the areas of influence for each bone. With the refinements all done, I can actually start painting his textures. I did all of his seams off cam to save a little bit of time, but I forgot to turn the camera on until after I'd finished his eyes and his glasses. My bee. I should also mention here that the jacket has its mirror modifier applied so that it is now all one piece instead of half a piece. This is because I designed a complex runic circle for the back. Once I finished ripping off the sleeves by using an alpha texture, as you can see here, I started work on the circle at the back. It uses ancient Phoenician runic script, derived from ancient Proto-Hebraic forms of writing. I like to incorporate runes and symbols that aren't derived from Norse Futhark where necessary, because I prefer not to use symbology that's been widely appropriated by fascists and neo-Nazis in my work. It's a small touch, but I'm Jewish and I'd rather avoid that connection where I can. Anyway, I ended up accidentally putting 2 on the jacket twice, but I think that's kind of in keeping with the Dean. He's a little confused, but he got the spirit. All of the elements are illustrated on a bump map, to which I also add flowing patterns around the hem and a UU insignia patch on the front with a raised top stitch detailing. With the detailing on the jacket done, I started adding a deep magenta pink ombre to the hem of the duster, and a bright pink to the collar and UU patch and stitching. The back detailing got a coat of bright aqua, as did the flowing details along the hem, and the studs got an even lighter aqua. Finally, to give it some leather detail, I added a Voronoi texture to the specular node of the basic shader. I actually designed 3 different shirt graphics for this band, but he uses the basic logo design that I came up with back in September that Cliff also wears. You can get PSDs for each of these designs over on Patreon for free. Absolutely no subscription necessary to download them. The other 2 wizards I modeled this month are wearing the other 2 designs. If you're somebody who wants some fake band merch, some fictional band merch, absolutely go over there and grab some. His shirt is also a single mesh and not a mirrored one, so I can get the print to look right. To get the effect of the runes stretched across the hem, I had to lay the stencil at 2 different angles and just fingers crossed really hope that they would line up properly. It took time, but it's another detail that sells the character's size a little bit better. I'm just going in on his facial hair and adding some grayish blue shading for better dimensionality. His actual longer hair has this going on as well.
You know the girl has made her mind up. She told me you're the only one. I realize the game is over. I'm the loser now when all is said and done. Ooh, you should be glad you won the day. I got the message loud
Eventually, it came time to do his face. I gave him very pale skin with a prominent blush on his nose and cheeks, and a slightly deeper red on his lips. I've also added a roughness map for his face to give him a shiny T-zone, lips, and eye sockets. For his lashes and eyebrows, I alternated between the shades of gray I used for his hair, set on an alpha texture. I also added some gray around where his beard meets the head mesh for a more seamless and less obvious blend. The gloves have a ton of raised top stitch detailing around the seams, so I added a bump map to simulate height. I tried to paint gussets between the fingers, but it didn't really turn out like I'd hoped, so I just ended up adding extra seam lines where the gussets should be. Once I decided where all the seams would go, I added top stitching above and below each seam. With the sewing details added, I added more dimension by shading around the seams with a lighter orange to give the darker orange of the seams a more recessed look. I also added detail around the flashier parts of the palm with a similar darker shade of orange. I gave the top stitch detailing a nice bluish purple to match the gloves a little better to the cooler tones of the fit. To detail the jeans, I did some base layers of brighter, less saturated blues around the knees and backs of the calves. I didn't blend it too much this time because light wash jeans already kind of look like that. Then it came time to add more stitch and rivet detailing. These are a key part of the look the character has when he's in rock mode, and I felt it important to really emulate the look of a pair of classic jeans. So they have the raised seams and the top stitching, the pockets, the rivets, all of it. I made sure to add all of it and color each element accordingly. The boots are pretty classic boots. They're brown with raised detailing along the toe box, soles, and lacing holes. Honestly, for this look I didn't go super crazy, but there were other wizards in this set that I did absolutely go buck wild on. This one looks pretty normal by comparison. Once I finished his hat, it finally came time to detail paint his body. I did most of my shading in a light pink that's a little darker in value than his pale base coat, and I didn't really do any highlights because they would have essentially been white. I blushed around his elbows and the little bit of his stomach that hangs over the waistband, making sure to paint his belly button a slightly darker pinkish brown. With all of the big bits done, I did the really small details. Inside mouth stuff like his teeth and tongue, the little skull scrunchie on his beard tail, and he's all set for the reveal.
I do hope they played that Hot to Go.
This is a band with rocks in, Kate.
I'm honestly super pleased with this outcome. I feel like the bump and the smoothness maps in particular have really elevated this model and made it look really cool. And the little details like the facial hair and the brows and stuff all really work together to create a piece that's kind of portfolio ready, if not, or you know, at least kind of closer to it than my normal models are. Friends, thank you so much for coming on this little Discworld adventure with me. I've had a great deal of fun modeling some of my favorite book characters, but the holidays are coming up and I need a little bit of a breather. So consider this my end of the year video, unless I manage to put out a short animation or something before January. I'll be doing something fun for Hanukkah this year, but I'll post more about it closer to the date. Since it dovetails nicely with Christmas, you could also call it a Christmas gift of sorts. So keep an eye out around the 20th or so for more news. Till then, I hope you've all enjoyed this video. I hope the nights are warm and the food is good and that you all have a lovely end of the year, and let's all hope for a brighter 2025 together. Stay safe, stay toasty, and I'll see you all next year. Bye!